Well, we got some bleeding across the board, but don't worry about it, ladies and gentlemen. It happens. Bitcoin needs to come down to go back up. And it also goes up to come back down. Welcome to the madness of trading, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you are all well. It's the final Friday. The last Friday, if knowledge serves me correctly. Are we right with that? The last Friday before the new year. And we're going into a very interesting new year, starting it off with the non-farm payrolls on the Friday. It's absolutely madness. But anyways, I hope you all have enjoyed your Christmas breaks. Unless you're still on the break, the market is clearly on its own Christmas break because liquidity is dead across the board. But we're seeing a lot of flavor going into the ETFs. There's a lot happening over there. BlackRock's ETF position has not yet moved. And here's a little fact. With all the ETFs combined, the Bitcoin spot ETFs, you take all of the Bitcoin that has been accumulated, it has now officially surpassed Satoshi's wallet in amounts, that is. So Satoshi's wallet was the only one that had the most Bitcoin, but now the ETFs are coming into play and they're swiping up the Bitcoin. I've said this before. There's a Bitcoin war going off, but there's also a virus. And that virus is hitting Wall Street very, very well. You see, you got to understand, guys in Wall Street or banks are not permitted to buy Bitcoin, but this ETF technically allows them to do that unless they're an authorized participant, APs, where they, similar to BlackRock and JP Morgan, Bank of America, Fidelity. But this virus is actually hitting Wall Street right now. And it looks kind of promising for Bitcoin. Is this going to be the start of the Santa rally? Have we already had it? Well, we're going to break it down today, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have a look at what is actually going off across the board in cryptocurrency. It seems like it's a little bit quiet, nothing really significant happening, but the markets are all waiting for Donald Trump. That's all they're waiting for. Has anyone seen the bond market? No one's talking about it. No one. We are close to a 5% yield on the 10-year notes. Ladies and gentlemen, like, what's going on? How are you at that 5% percentile, sorry? You've got the dollar dominance doing all right. Dollar yen? What's Japan doing? Are they even going to do anything? We'll be breaking it all down very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. So if you are new, welcome to today's live stream. Merry Christmas. Mad love and respect to all of you. Shut up, man. Tino, bullish now. Yesterday we were bullish. The day before we were bullish. The day before that we were bullish. And then we were bullish before that. I hate saying bull and bear. It's mark up and mark down. Oh. Well, you know what? At least you're saying that I'm not bearish. It's all love. Anyway, let's get with the program, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. So, futures haven't seen really a nice start to the day in principle. Just quickly go over to the futures markets. Just have a look at NASDAQ. It has been rolling over ever so slightly. But, I mean, look at NASDAQ, man. It's just so close to its all-time high. And this is where we are across the board. We are in wait-and-see mode. Check this out. It says here that the most important move in this year-end is the rise of the US 10-year bond. Let's just have a look at that. Let's go up to that. What is going on right here? Look at this. This is the US debt. Even Ray Dalio said, don't bother getting involved in debt. Stop buying debt. Buy Bitcoin and gold. That's what he said. The top boy of Bridgewater's associates. You all know who Ray Dalio is. And he says, don't buy US debt. But the problem that you've got, ladies and gentlemen, is you can't kill people's tradition. You can't kill how money moves. The same way we celebrate Christmas is the same way investors in Wall Street will always go to fixed income securities like the US bonds market or the money markets like the ETFs if they're concerned about what to do with their risk. The 10-year bonds market right now is currently at 97, okay? Go over to the 10-year bond yield. How much are you going to be earning if you give the US government some money? You're at 4.5%, and I'm saying it now so you know I said it as well because it's being said on the street. The second this hits 5%, you are going to see an influx of madness from investors. 5% on the 10-year. Yes, please. That should, in principle, bottom out the bonds and send everything up. word on the street is that Bank of Japan is doing all right in regards to whether or not they actually increase the interest rate. So the carry trade principle might still be on. In other words, investors will borrow the Japanese yen and then they will sell it into US dollars and put those dollars to work, which is why you've got a lot of wealth managers projecting that we're going to be going into 2025 with a little bit of a promise and maybe a 16 to 17% appreciation on the S&P and the NASDAQ. Wow. This thing can still go up. That's the crazy thing about it all, ladies and gentlemen. The article here goes on to say that David Crook, head of trading at La Financière de l'Equerria in Paris, what a long name for a business. He says, other than that, most of the trades are technical ones, short covering and profit taking, but there is no big trend going on as is typical during this time of year. So that's why I'm saying to you, be very mindful when you're trading because liquidity is low. You'll see volatility coming in, price spikes up, it comes down, and it's not consistent because there's liquidity issues. We don't have the bigger players playing the game as often as they normally would. Going into today, we don't have anything in regards to news. Look, it's dead. Friday. It's just the 27th of December. That's all it is. There's nothing to be worried about. No news announcements. So the market technically can do whatever it wants. And that's something we've got to take into consideration. But guys, this right here with the 4.5% on the US debt, that is a major problem. On top of that, the Japanese yen, as I just said, is depleting. But apparently it's in line with their expectations and their inflation. So as long as nothing drastic happens when it comes to Trump's inauguration, where the tariffs come into play, well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the biggest event once Trump steps into power, because that's why the bonds are going down, because investors want to know what is Trump going to do. So going into 2025, if you're considering buying Bitcoin, I would strongly urge you to wait to see if Trump's inauguration and, of course, the economic policies that he's going to put out are going to have an impact on the marketplace overall. And that's where I think the Japanese yen is going to start making movements once Trump decides to let us know what he's doing with the tariffs. Going into cryptocurrency, ladies and gentlemen, check this out. Bitcoin inflows surged by 475 million as Fidelity leads the comeback. So going over into the ETFs themselves, we have a look. BlackRock hasn't really moved in terms of its balance. It did sell some not so long ago, about a day ago. It sold around 3, 6, 9, 12, about $1,500. Yeah, 1,500 Bitcoin. But that's nothing to be concerned about, guys, because we're still sat at that lovely balance of 500,000 plus. And you can see like they're just eating up this Bitcoin. And then you've got MicroStrategy with this excitement about being listed on the NASDAQ 100. And it's going to be generating more liquidity from that, holding a shareholder meeting, asking them if they should sell their shares so they can pick up more revenue. Everyone's calling it a Ponzi scheme right now. You can't kill Saylor's idea. I'm telling you, they're going to put Saylor in museums, okay? They're going to put Michael Saylor's statue in museums as the wildest... I don't know what they would put, but he'd have a ledger with Bitcoin and he'd just be stood there and he'd be looking up. You've heard me say that before, but it's so true. What's the virus? It's right here. Wall Street. There's this thing now that MicroStrategy has done a great job of doing this, okay? We can't, I know I knock MicroStrategy from the perspective as a company. I mean, if we just quickly go over to MicroStrategy's statistics as an investor, what am I looking for when I want to invest in a stock? Okay. So I'll just go over to MicroStrategy. And if I want to see what the stock price is doing, I look at that and I say $341, not bad. What's its earnings per share ratio like? What am I going to be earning holding this stock? You ain't earning nothing, guys. Nothing at all. Its earnings per share rating at the end of 2025 or going into it is roughly around minus 79 cents. So there's your money right there. However, when you look closely here, you can see that the fund ownership has gone up from December 23 from 411 to 890 in September 2024. And we're going to get another reading on this at the end of the quarter to tell us how many more funds are actually playing this stock. Management holds 2% and funds hold 33% of the stock that is currently afloat. MicroStrategy is in 101% debt and research and development is 24% of the capital as such. But what you're looking for in principle is how are you making money on this stock? Well, this stock is relying on two things: Bitcoin's price going up and how aggressive these guys decide to buy Bitcoin. That's your fundamentals. Statistically, this company is dead in the sense of a business. It does earnings per share. Quarterly earnings. Look at it. It's negative. All right. You don't have any acceleration. Their business model does nothing for itself as a business. But because they hold so much cryptocurrency, it's now got the attention of Wall Street in the sense where investors are like thinking, how much of our treasury are we going to commit to Bitcoin? So going into it all, it says here that we've got, look, Bitwise is coming out with another ETF. They want to push the idea. And then you've got companies here. It's saying this: Bitcoin has filed for Bitcoin Standard Corporation's ETF, targeting companies with significant Bitcoin holdings. Going into it all, it says publicly traded companies like KULR Technology Group have recently announced a $21 million investment in Bitcoin. Okay. Now, what I'm saying here is companies are now looking in their treasuries and thinking, you know what, we might as well start committing some liquidity to Bitcoin. And this is what the virus is. Everyone in Wall Street, you know what? I think this is GameStop again. I think Bitcoin is going to pull a GameStop. I really do think it. Because you saw what happened with GameStop. Everyone and anyone as an institutional fund manager, was jumping onto this run with GameStop. I think it's going to be exactly the same thing for Bitcoin, but we won't have the problem of the SEC trying to step in and pull trading and stop trading, because you can't stop trading in crypto. But I actually believe that this right here is going to lead to a GameStop event where you're going to see Bitcoin go absolutely crazy, and it's going to be parabolic. It's going to go shooting up, but it will come down just as aggressively. So if we actually experience that event and you're on the right side of it all, ladies and gentlemen, you're making bank and you can't complain. Take some money off the table. So that's something to take into consideration. Did anyone hear about this? $500 million has been put into Binance, USDT. Two things that could lead to. Conventionally, you expect that when you're putting liquidity into Binance, especially USDT, what are you going to do? Sell your USDT to USDT? No. Well, depending on this MiCA regulation that European zone is trying to put into play, that could mean that this person wants to exchange $500 million worth of USDT into USDC maybe. But the conventional practice says that they're looking to buy crypto. So that could be something that we take into consideration. Going into it all, we get a whale alert saying $500 million has been transferred from an unknown wallet to Binance. Do you think the US is going to start buying Bitcoin? Maybe, ladies and gentlemen. Matrix Port has now come out with some negative news. The greatest risk to Bitcoin's bull market in 2025. You know what it is. It's this willow, quantum. Okay, quantum computing. Quantum computing is not there yet to crack Bitcoin's code, in my opinion. But could it get there? Most definitely. How many of you are on that logic? Because it could actually get there. Come on. Like, the computing power, it's decades away. That's a good thing, you know? But they're saying that that is one of the risks. Another risk is, of course, Donald Trump's presidency. What could that do for Bitcoin? It's all about inflation. But like I said, the 10-year yields, those are so bad right now. It doesn't make sense. You've got the stock market at all-time highs near enough, and the 10-year bond yield itself is at 4.5. Stocks should be going down, but they're not. Something is brewing. That's not me coming with bad news. It's just the market's not aligned. So how do you actually work out what's going on? Turn your attention over to the volatility index, ladies and gentlemen, because it works when it works, and it doesn't work when it doesn't work. Simple as that. In other words, you are effectively waiting for this chart, the volatility index, to move aggressively in one direction against the other. Okay? So if this aggressively moves up to 21 like it did last week, where I was saying to you all, buy the blood, that was buying the blood. What happened that day? Bitcoin shot up. Right? When this chart spikes up, that's when you want to pay attention to start buying. When it comes down, that's when you want to pay attention to start shorting. Okay? So when it goes up, you are getting ready to buy. Why? Because assets are appreciating. Okay? Sorry, assets are dropping. You're getting ready to buy because they're going to shoot back up because this thing right here is trading positive. When you're looking for shorts, this thing right here will be coming down. So that means prices are actually rising and you're looking to sell. This chart right here is going to dictate the event, the next event that we're going into. And this is volatility spikes. Look, each of these volatility spikes, primarily the bigger ones, are the ones you want to pay attention to. This one right here was the 5th of August. You know what the 5th of August was? Japanese yen. They increased their interest rate. Look what happened. Everything slumped. The hour count, a day later, everything shot back up and continued to do so. That effectively started the rally. So if you are wanting to understand when to buy Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is following the idea of the stock market, you want to wait until this chart starts moving up, okay? We could be seeing an event later on, but I don't think that's going to happen yet. I don't think the event's going to happen until Trump comes into power. That's what my belief is, okay? In other news, Bitcoin payments hit yearly low. So there's not much happening with Bitcoin, which is a good thing. It's just illiquid, holiday season. But an analyst predicts that a price recovery is imminent. So we could be going in for another all-time high once things start to get going again. I do believe that what's happening now in the markets is Bitcoin's going to be up, then it's going to come down and just keep doing that flavor. Vector to vector, ladies and gentlemen, and that's exactly what we're talking about. When I say vector to vector, I'm making it on this idea right here where Bitcoin moves up. It will move up, for example, then it will come down and play this whole game. Could we project the idea that Bitcoin could go for another all-time high? 110K is on the cards. They want 120K as well. That's what analysts are looking for. Going into other articles, we've got this story right here. Legislation to take center stage. Yes, we do have legislation coming into play with cryptocurrency. Ain't going to get by that quick. But I don't think the legislation is going to really be a problem for cryptocurrency, if I'm quite frank with you. The only thing that they could effectively do in terms of crypto legislation is all behind stable coins. Who is able to buy it and who's able to sell it in terms of Congress, you know, insider stock trading and what have you, and leverage. That's where I think it could come into play. If companies are, you know, if they want to put a limitation on leverage like they did with Forex, that's something that could be happening in terms of legislation. But I think it's the stablecoin market that they're really going to be attacking. Okay, cool. With that being said, let's quickly have a look at some trading that I did over the last couple of days or so. I've had a decent run over the Christmas period, even though the times that I'm trading quite bizarre as well. Last night, I managed to exploit the long on Bitcoin and Ethereum. And you know what? It's a pain in the backside because for Ethereum, I always managed to do well with Ethereum. Okay, we cleared $4,135, so 4K after fees and what have you. But then Bitcoin, for some reason, I'm just not getting it there. Bitcoin just doesn't move. I mean, look at this one. Ethereum, again, $3,127. And then look, Bitcoin. What the hell, Tino? It just doesn't make sense. Look at this one. This one was Bitcoin, 46 smackaroonies. What a trade. Brilliant. It was actually negative because of the fees afterwards. And then Ethereum. So that's why I say to you, Ethereum is so much more better to trade than Bitcoin. And I think that Bitcoin, I mean, that's just my opinion for me. Some of you guys might kill it with Bitcoin. Okay. But for me, it's just a very tricky, it doesn't move as fast. That's the problem. But when it moves, it really moves. So Bitcoin's like this, okay? Bitcoin's the kind of asset where it works on the principle of elasticity, okay? Compression, compression, compression. You're pulling, you're pulling, you're pulling, you're pulling. And then bang, when that thing goes, when that thing shifts, it bloody moves. And it's a case of whether you're on the right side of it or not, okay? Now, quickly going into a little bit of price action just to break the flavor down for you all. Here we go. So what we got? Bitcoin has come back down into this region right here, which is sitting as an imbalance. Going over to the Viva La Exo charts to understand where we are. So I've got Bitcoin right here and Ethereum, as you can see. And we're looking at the depth of market just to understand where we are in terms of value. How many people are actually buying and in agreement with Bitcoin's price right now? And right now, we're currently above the point of control, which is good, because if it's above the point of control, we would assume that at the point of control, which is at 96,295, that is a point where investors are in agreement that they're happy to buy and sell. But who's in control at that point? Is it the buyers, so the bids, or the sellers, or the offers? But you have to flip it, because when price goes down, it means people are buying. And when price is going up, it means people are selling. If that logic doesn't make sense to you, look at this chart right here. In front of you, you can see that we've got some interesting candles and all this numbers stuff right here. I'll put your attention to this. At 97,594, there is someone wanting to sell Bitcoin for 15 million and 70. Okay, so $15 million worth of Bitcoin is to be sold, right? In order for that order to come into play, there has to be a market participant who is prepared to buy from that seller. So as prices are rising, retail's having a party and they're buying because Bitcoin's moving up, right? When you look down, you've got participants who are wanting to buy the Bitcoin as it drops. So that means when Bitcoin's price goes down to 95,956, someone will buy Bitcoin for 3.84 million, or an initial order amount. Okay? In order for that person to buy, someone has to be like, oh my God, Bitcoin's dropping. I can't take it anymore. They're selling to this participant here. And that's what we've got to try and establish. Where are we? Are we in a cyclical move higher or in a cyclical move lower? Logic would say that on the daily time frame, Bitcoin has got a lot of work to do, in my opinion. However, it's not doing too bad. This is the first test of the 50 EMA. The first test. Well, it was actually a couple of days ago here on the 23rd of December. That's the first physical test of the 50 EMA, right? So that has caught attention and Bitcoin has rejected that point. We've got an area over here that Bitcoin could come up to, which is the all-time high at 104,000. Everyone's expecting Bitcoin to roll over. If we apply the logic of price action, we could make the assumption that this move is rise. This is the retrace, however deep the retrace is going to be, because the retrace on Bitcoin can go all the way down to 73,000 and it will still be deemed as a valid bull run. Why? Because it hasn't actually broken any structure. Look, and you know what? If you don't like the sound of this and you think, oh my God, this guy is bearish, please, you obviously don't understand what trading is about. And you're just fixated on the God candle, parabolic move, the erectile candlestick. Like, what the hell? Wake up, man. It doesn't make sense for you to think of it like that. If Bitcoin were to come straight back down to 72,000, the bull run is still valid. Because it's only coming back into the biggest consolidation that led to this sweep to the upside. So naturally, if Bitcoin goes into that point, you should be excited, because the idea is it's going to grab people's attention. And then, of course, with all of this stuff about the Bitcoin treasury, we know they're buying Bitcoin. So at top side, you can only assume that Bitcoin could pull back and there will be support, because it will trigger people's interest to buy it. Because if it was at 100,000, they're going to think it's at a discount at 70. Discount at 70. And they think it's a discount at 100K as well. That's the jokes about it. Well, not the jokes, but the logic that holds true. Okay. Let's have a look at what's going to kickstart the market. We've got this right here is options that are coming into play, unusual options. We've got some sell puts coming in on the SPY, and we've got quite a bit. Look at this. Nearly 40 million on SPY puts. Okay, so they're selling puts, so they are favoring higher prices. Okay, and you can see it's green, so they're expecting higher prices right there. Go down, we've got this stock here, that EFA that's coming into play. That's quite a bit. But then you look at mRNA, like what on earth is going on? Okay, so Moderna, the options markets. Well, here we go. Basically, someone just planted 122 million options. Okay, so selling puts. So these guys are favoring some big move to happen with this thing right here. So let's just quickly go and have a look at that stock, because that is just a significant amount of options on that stock. MRN. Come on. MNA. There we go. Moderna. Here we go. So medical biotech. All right. So developers, messenger RNA therapeutics for infectious, immunology, rare and cardiovascular diseases. $40 a share, and you've got that big call option, sell put coming into play. Man, something is brewing, you know. Let's have a look at what's going on in the market right now. What is Bitcoin getting up to right now? Here we go. Doing a nice little pullback. Ethereum's I'm not really concerned about this pullback on Bitcoin as such. Yeah. It looks like it's a controlled move lower, back down below 96,000. Having a look at where we are across that. Yeah, it's the depth of market. We're in value. It's lost the depth of market of the point of control right now. It has actually lost that, but this is the brinks. It's coming into the recovery of the green vector candle zone. Ethereum is doing all right, to say the least. It's still close towards its point of control. Bitcoin will naturally make this move. Going into the depth of market here, you can see that we've got an imbalance being recovered. Got some bids coming into play on Bitcoin, but it is a sharp move lower, and they've just tried to fill that amount right there. Haven't quite succeeded at doing that. There's some liquidations on the long side have come into play, but if the shorts are going to get recovered, in the sense where shorts are going to get liquidated, Bitcoin's price will naturally want to try and make a bit of a recovery back up, which would mean that there's short covering coming into play. So if you're seeing sharp movements down and they instantly bring price back up, the logic says that it's just a run for stops. Okay, so you've got to be very cautious with that. I mean, it's not that bad, guys. I mean, Bitcoin could even roll down towards the blue vector down here. So it could do it because volume is light, but they seem to have done a lot of business at the daily open. So take that into consideration when you are trading Bitcoin today, guys. All right, it's got even more. I mean, it's done great to recover this vector here, but it's just pulling back, standard Friday flavor. And they're usually doing that around the psychological ranges. This is a big area right now for Bitcoin. So it's all or nothing with this range. Okay. Any questions? Tino's still better. Man, Tino's still bearish. What a guy. You're saying, listen, you're saying it to wind me up. I know you are. Any questions, guys, before we kill it? No problem, no problem. Thank you very much. Can you check BTC dominance? Let's have a look. So my altcoin gang, where we at? Bitcoin dominance is actually moving up. They're buying. They're buying Bitcoin. They really are buying it, but retail thinks it's bearish. Never mind, Ethereum. What are you doing? Still holding out in your side of your range. She moves so fast up and so fast down. So once they recover the vector, then we'll know exactly where we stand with that logic. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, remember, we're going into the end of the year now, all right? So just be very careful with your positions. Consolidate. It's the last trading day of the week, and we're going into the weekend. Cryptocurrency is still alive at that point. So make sure you're taking profits on your weekends or today if you do have any exposure on, okay? Remember, we have got a discount code on the Platinum Traders Reality website, the Traders Reality website, sorry. The discount code is Christmas, and it's in the description where you can join the Platinum membership, and you get 20% off your first month. So if you want to get involved in that, it's in the description of this live stream. Other than that, guys, mad love and respect. Enjoy yourselves. And if anything wild happens, I'm sure I'll be jumping back on. Take care of yourselves, gang. Mad love and respect. Peace.